become relevant when we drop down to the daily time frame. So having a look at the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we can see here this is our W formation with a rise level 1 through here into this little bit of a retracement. We're currently in the process of completing a rise level 2. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you will know that the week usually opens with a false move. We can only identify that on very small time frames, but the goal of the false move is to basically wipe out weekend traders who took a position in the wrong direction and liquidate some highest levels of liquidity that are closest to the weekend range. And as you can see from these two candles here that wicked just above this green line, that was the closest level that we had, and that was at 69,005. And so I kept that there for you to be able to see how that false move actually works. And you can see they just wicked right into it, and at this point in time it looks like they're starting to move away. And that is a perfect example of how that happened. Now, as price has moved up through this liquidation zone right here, it means that prior old liquidity that was through these levels where price has returned to, that's gone now, either by people closing their own positions or not closing their positions and getting liquidated. So we'll be moving that up above where price has gone to its highest level. So our range of liquidity should now be somewhere around 69,600 still to the 73,100. And let's take a look at high block to see what it's showing us. Now, when I bring up the Bitcoin heat map chart, I'm looking at a look back period of 3 months, and you can see this liquidity here in this green area. This is what I had marked out on that chart, and that takes us to about that 71K region. And there are some new areas popping up here at about 72,000 and 72,600. That would be because of people opening new short positions at the current high. And we can also see that below this current price, there really isn't a lot of liquidity all the way back down here to the 58K. There isn't a lot. So there really isn't a huge reason for the market maker to drop price. And this is what has me kind of thinking that there is more upside to come before there is downside, but it doesn't mean I'm ruling out a drop eventually. Like I said to you on my last video, the more we continue to rise into the election, the more cautious I am that there is either going to be some kind of sell-off just prior to the election as a result of the election or after the election. So that doesn't make me bearish, just to be clear. What it makes me think is that I need to still keep dry powder on the side for some sort of potential event like that, where depending on how bad it gets, it could present my very last buying opportunity for the rest of this cycle. Now, if we don't get that huge pullback, either of the 3 events that I said to you, prior, on, or after the election, then I will just be buying into strength. So it doesn't matter. I still have a plan for both ways, but I haven't deployed everything that I plan to put into this cycle simply because of the timing of this move up and the fact that it is prior to the election. And I think that's okay to ride the trend whilst it's there, but still be cautious of future news events that are coming up. And being cautious, all it does is allow me to create a plan for both scenarios so that if either one of those plays out, I know where to act on that. And I'm not getting caught up in all this hype that is on social media right now about, going all in on altcoins and Bitcoin's going to break out next. And, I'm just not falling for all of that hype. I'm able to just trade what I see because I have a plan for no matter which way it goes. And that's what I highly encourage you to do for yourself. So when we line these higher levels of liquidity here that are currently above price, they take us back really only to the top of the range. Now, if we actually get there and if we do continue up and start breaking through this, you've got to know that so many people will be shorting the top of the range just because the things will come out that we're due for a pullback. We're not due for anything. The market maker can do whatever they want. So what that means is as people are shorting the very top of the range, if we happen to get there, more liquidity is going to open above price. And at that time, we will have to reassess and build our own plan at those levels. But for me, I don't see why we wouldn't get there, at least back to the top of the range, because if I'm simply trading the model that I trade, then I expect after a W formation that there is a 3 level of rises. And right now I only have 2. So even if we got a pullback, came back to rebalance some of these green vectors here, and then we moved up, then I would expect that if that pullback still created yet another higher low, then yeah, we will go to the top of the range. Now, if you happen to catch my video last week, then you will know that the 12-hour hour time frame was the one that I was watching the most because it was giving me the most telling pattern. And that was here when we were in this flag formation and we had retraced around the 50% fib level. Now, if your retracement is to 50 fibs, your target is the -27 up here, somewhere around 70,200, maybe 300. We haven't quite made it there, but we're very, very close to it right now. What we have made it to, though, is around the bottom of a previously unrecovered vector. So that's this one right here from the 7th of June. We revisited it here once, and we are now revisiting it for the second time. Usually, if we attempt it twice, the second one will eventually break through. But again, we may get a pullback just to build that momentum. We may even just consolidate with no pullback. But the longer we consolidate or pull back, as long as we hold around the 50 EMA on the 12-hour time frame, which is about 64.5, I would expect again that we are coming for this higher level of liquidity and we will get close to the range top. Now, the thing about this 12-hour flag formation, in the last video, I said to look at around 38 fibs and worst case around 50 fibs. It was extra bullish than that. And we actually only got a 50 EMA retest before it actually broke out. So it would have been a hard entry to get unless you were super confident or unless you understand this particular method where we do trade off the 50 EMA. So the way that I'm counting this, I believe on the 12-hour time frame, we are also in a rise level 2. And if I wasn't in a long position, I would be looking now for some sort of a reason to open a long position to get the final rise. I don't have it yet, so let's go down to a lower time frame. The 4-hour is starting to show a little bit of concern, but again, remember, the lower the time frame we go, any hints of a reversal are more likely to just be higher time frame pullbacks. So there's no reason to think, oh, this is the short that's taking us back to 50k or anything like that. Lower time frame bearish formation really could just equal higher time frame retracement. So on the 4-hour time frame, I'm seeing this V bottom. We had a beautiful retest of the 50 EMA right there. Again, the 50 EMA works on every time frame, and especially if we turn into parabolic phase of the cycle, the 50 EMA retests are going to be your best friend. So we've had our rise through here, second one through here, and third one has been really quite dismal. But the reason it would have been dismal is because it happened through a weekend as well, where the volume tends to be quite low. So we had the Friday push up on this candle here that happened in US, and then we went into a low volume weekend. And I actually noted in my Discord when I did this update for my community yesterday that I did not think the 4-hour level 3 was complete. As you can see here, these are the full updates that I do every Sunday, and my team over here do also daily updates on Bitcoin, and sometimes they cover ETH as well. So every day there is a full breakdown of where we think we are time frame by time frame on all of the levels. So if you are interested in learning how to trade this method in full, definitely consider getting a membership. There is a link in the description of this video. But when it comes to the 4-hour, I wrote it here. I don't think the third rise is actually complete yet. So I think we are in the third rise and it's potentially still happening. And when we have a look at that, that is here. So this continued after that. And we're at this point, we're still holding the 20 EMA. So there may still even be more to come, knowing that we've got these other liquidation levels above price. And last I checked, we also had short orders on Trading Light at 70k and not really anything lower than that. That is up here. So we have 510 Bitcoin worth of orders at 70,000 currently. So we may get some retracement or consolidation before we attempt that level, and that would be the next level to look for resistance or somewhere to take some profit. Now, moving down into the 1-hour time frame, this is definitely one of those weeks where the model has played out over 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, we had most of the week was to the downside. Towards the end of the week, we created the V bottom reversal, and last week, most of the move was to the upside. Price is currently at the high of last week, which is at about 68,990-ish. Now, we did attempt to break above the high of the week, but we've closed back down below it. So if there is a repeated attempt of the high of the week and we can't break and hold above it, that's going to create an M formation. So the price will look something like this. And if it does, that's where you're going to expect that we're going to get our lower time frame retracement, which is just great news for anyone who wants a long position. We would then be looking at lower target to open longs. I'm not really certain it's a smart idea to short in this environment just yet, unless there is the presence of not great news. And so speaking of which, let's have a look at what news events we've got coming up this week. Our most significant news events of this week are going to be unemployment claims and PMI, all happening on Thursday. And then on Friday, we also have these durable goods orders. So they're going to be our two potential news events for the week, which is kind of good because it means that we've just got a free trading week for the rest of the week and we can just trade what we see. Now, when updating these levels, we can see that there is a lot of liquidity above and below price. There are some pretty big numbers as well. So if we are going to have a retracement, I would now be looking for that M formation. A failure of the high of the week is also going to be a failure of 50% Asia. It's around about the same level, and also yesterday's high of the day. So a lot of confluence there. If that were to happen, I would expect that we would come down for these levels next, at the worst case to around probably 67,100. And that's where we would need to reassess, because it might be all we get, considering if that were to happen, the 200 EMA would also catch up here. And there may be, considering we're in such a bullish environment, there may be a 200 EMA bound type of trade there. So I would not expect an automatic 3 levels of drop until you assess what the price does in this zone. Now that zone is between about 67.1 to 67.7, and the highest level of buy orders that we have currently is at 67.3. So we do have confluence there. Definitely watch out for this zone if the price does continue to head down. If we get there and it's still looking weak, then we would expect some sort of a retracement, maybe come back to test the low of the day at around 68, and then we would expect it to come for these lower levels down about, worst case, 65.5. But don't bank on that. We need to see what happens in this area first. Now, as I'm filming this, we are currently halfway through the Monday UK session, and when we have a look at what happened from the weekend into the open of the market today, we can see here that we had our weekend trap and we had a price breakout to the upside. Now, I was actually expecting a breakout as the false move week beginning and not a stop hunt. And again, I gave this notice in the Discord last night where I said here, the open interest rising, price flat and volume flat means a breakout is coming soon and there is no need for a stop hunt. So once we break the weekend range, we may go straight into a trend. And that was posted before the actual breakout. The chart at the time looked like this. So when we go to the live chart, it was here on this candle. And only a few candles later, we did in fact get that breakout. We got that successful retest, and then we started to create a trend up until Asia had set its initial high of the day. So as a day trade, that was basically done. And now on the 15-minute time frame, it does look like we've got our rejection of 50% Asia at the end of the Asia session, and UK has ran its trend to the downside. So as a day trade, this is what I would be looking out for next. And it's going to line up with what I said earlier about the 1 hour time frame 200 EMA potentially bouncing. If this is our day trade right here and we have our information, we have our breakdown, we would expect that probably somewhere towards the end of UK, we will have a retracement. And that is the market maker taking profit. Then if we're going to continue further levels to the downside, US will continue that, and it may take us into this zone. And that is the same zone that is going to line up with the 1 hour 200 EMA. And it also may happen over 2 levels, so it may not happen in one go, again like this. You would have to count your levels on the 15-minute time frame throughout the US session to know then if this is the pullback, that's the best we're going to get, and it's time to switch long again. Now guys, if you are wanting to trade this with us and be part of these moves before they happen, you should consider joining the exclusive Bitunix and Trade Travel Chill trading competition, where you can win a trip to Dubai. You will come and spend 5 days with me as we explore all of the amazing areas in Dubai, including the Burj Khalifa, a desert safari adventure, a yacht trip, and of course, visiting my favorite, Abu Dhabi. To enter this competition, all you need to do is use the link in the description of this video to join Bitunix, join the competition, and then follow the instructions to get access to the Discord so that you can be part of these updates before the trades play out. Now, we do have some